Okay, so listen to this. Chuck Liddell, the man, the myth, the absolute wrecking ball of the UFC. You remember him, right? The guy with that crazy mohawk, fists like wrecking balls, and a stare that could probably chill lava. Yeah, that guy. He wasn't just another fighter. He was a force of nature, a legend, the Iceman. But now, Chuck can barely finish a sentence without stumbling. His speech? Slow, slurred, repetitive. It's like watching your childhood hero slowly dissolve in front of your eyes, and people, fans, even close friends, are whispering the same terrifying word, CTE. Let's rewind though. Before all the sadness, before the heartbreak, Chuck Liddell was a warrior, pure steel in human form. Back in 1998, when he first walked into the UFC octagon, he didn't just fight, he obliterated. His takedown defense, impenetrable. His chin, you could hit it with a hammer and he'd still come forward. His right hand. Oh, please. That thing was a guided missile with bad intentions. By the early 2000s, Chuck was cutting through the legends like a buzzsaw. Vitor Belfort, handled. Alistair Overeem, gone. Kevin Randleman, next. Renato Sobral, down. Every time he walked to the cage, fans knew someone's night was ending early. And the look, the low-hanging shorts, tribal tattoos, that intense icy glare. He looked like he just walked out of a bar brawl in a movie and into real life. No fluff, no trash talk, unless really needed. Just destruction. He was the guy carrying the UFC on his back when it wasn't even cool to like MMA. And then, 2005. The crowning moment. He flatlined Randy Couture and won the light heavyweight title. Boom. Just like that. It was a coronation. Pay-per-view numbers blew up. Spike TV turned him into a reality TV star. Chuck Liddell wasn't just famous, he was iconic. But behind all the cheers and victories, something dark was brewing. Nobody was talking about brain trauma or long-term damage. Not yet. Chuck kept going, swinging like a madman. But the cracks? Oh, they were forming silently. Fast forward to 2007, Chuck walks into the cage like always, but something's off. Just a bit slower. His reflexes, not as sharp, but most folks didn't notice until UFC 71. Quinton Rampage Jackson. This was supposed to be redemption. Chuck was the champ, the Iceman, and then bam. One shot, one clean right hand, and Chuck hits the mat like dead weight. Cold, 2 minutes tops, and suddenly, everything shattered. This wasn't just a loss, it was the beginning of the end. Fans gasped, Jackson celebrated, Chuck lay there, lifeless, and then it snowballed. Next fight, Keith Jardine. Not a bad fighter, but come on, he wasn't top tier, and Chuck lost. Not even knocked out, just outworked. Stiff, hesitant, sluggish. Then Wanderlei Silva, a war. Chuck actually won, but barely. And let's be real, he looked like he was fighting underwater. The Iceman? This was something else. Something slower, sadder. And then, Rashad Evans. Oh no, that fight, that one punch, that devastating right hand that sent Chuck collapsing like a statue being bulldozed. No twitch, no movement, just out, gone, done. Dana White, yeah, Dana the UFC boss, said it then and there. He's done. He's my friend. I love him. But that's it. Dana even gave Chuck a cushy desk job, executive role, business development, good salary just to keep him out of the cage. Because deep down, Dana knew Chuck was killing himself one knockout at a time. And Chuck, he smiled, nodded, said all the right things. But you could tell, he wasn't ready to let go. But then in 2016, the UFC got sold. WME IMG came in with their suits and their memos and poof, Chuck was out. The job for life Dana promised? Gone. And that, my friend, was the spark. Chuck started training again. He said he missed it, said he still had it, and people freaked out. Not in the yay he's back kind of way, but like, please don't do this. And who steps up for a fight? Tito Ortiz. Yup, the same Tito Chuck destroyed twice before. They were both way past their prime. Let's be honest, they had a combined age pushing 100. But Chuck wanted that fight. Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy MMA agreed to promote it. Yeah, even though Chuck hadn't fought in 8 years. 8, he was 48th. Fans begged him to stop. Coaches refused to train him. Even John Hackelman, his longtime friend and trainer, said no. That's how serious this was. But Chuck? Oh, he brushed it off. I still got the power, he joked. Tito couldn't crack an egg. Except he wasn't joking well. His speech was off. He'd ramble, he'd stutter, his thoughts would loop. And then the training footage leaked. Oh God. Chuck looked like he was shadowboxing in molasses. His footwork was clunky. His punches, not just slow, worrying. Fans didn't cheer. They pleaded. Please don't do this, they wrote in comments. It wasn't nostalgia. It was elder abuse. But no one could stop him. Not Dana. Not fans. Not even his family. And then came fight night. November 24th, 2018. Chuck vs. Tito, Part 3. Everyone held their breath, not with excitement, but fear. Because from the first bell, it was clear. Chuck wasn't Chuck. His hands were down. His reflexes, gone. He looked like a man trying to remember what fighting felt like. And Tito? He hesitated. You could see it. He didn't want to be the guy to do this, but instinct took over. One clean right hand. Chuck hit the floor, face first, out cold, and it was quiet. No cheers, just gasps. Even Tito looked shaken. It wasn't a fight, it was a farewell. A painful, haunting farewell. Chuck Liddell, the Iceman, had been knocked out again. And this time, it felt like the final nail in the coffin. After that knockout, Chuck just laying there, face down, not moving, something shifted. Not just in the arena, but everywhere. Fans didn't say, "What a fight!" They said, "What have we done?" It was Chuck's fourth brutal knockout in a row. And the worst part, this time, it didn't come from a hungry young killer. It came from Tito, his old rival, someone Chuck used to dismantle with ease. And now, he couldn't even raise his hands in time to protect himself. The headlines were brutal, disturbing, sad. Hard to watch. The Guardian didn't mince words. They called it a repugnant spectacle. Dana White, furious, said it was disgusting the fight even happened. He said, anyone who let Chuck walk into that cage is not his friend. And the fans? Heartbroken. One tweeted, I grew up on Chuck. That was the hardest thing I've ever watched. Another said, we used to cheer these knockouts. Now they just feel like we're watching someone die slow. Chuck, of course, tried to play it off. I'm fine. Just got caught. But no one believed it. His speech was slurred. He fumbled his sentences, his eyes, distant. He didn't sound like someone who was fine. He sounded like someone fighting to sound fine. Denial written all over his face. Even Tito didn't celebrate much. His post-fight words were almost apologetic. I wish it didn't end like this, he said. And you could see it. Everyone knew that wasn't a fight. That was a goodbye nobody asked for, and nobody wanted. After the fight, Chuck disappeared. No press tour, no victory lap, just silence. But in that silence, the concern got louder. Because the Iceman, he didn't just lose a fight, he lost himself. The next time fans saw Chuck in public, alarm bells were ringing. His speech, slower. His memory, spotty. On podcasts, he'd repeat stories, struggle to follow questions, forget names. People started comparing interviews from his prime to now. And the difference? Terrifying. Then came the tipping point. In 2021, Chuck was arrested during a domestic incident. No charges stuck, but something way more chilling came out. In court, Chuck's wife made a claim no one could ignore. She said he was showing signs of CTE, that he couldn't remember things, that his speech was off, that he was forgetting simple stuff. She said, he's going to have dementia or Alzheimer's. Let that sink in. This wasn't some online rumor. This came from the woman who lived with him every single day. And she said what fans had been afraid to say out loud. Chuck wasn't okay. Experts started weighing in. Now remember, CTE can't officially be diagnosed until after death, but the symptoms? Oh, they were all there. Memory lapses, slurred speech, confusion, personality changes, mood swings. Chuck had taken more damage than most. 7 confirmed knockouts. Who knows how many unrecorded in sparring and training. Fans who once cheered every hit were now asking, how many of those punches led to this? And what's worse, Chuck never acknowledged it, never addressed the elephant in the room. He'd appear at UFC events or do small interviews, still smiling, still pretending nothing was wrong. But fans could see it. The sparkle was gone. The fire, barely flickering. This wasn't the Iceman. This was a man slowly unraveling in front of us. And sadly, he's not alone. Other MMA pioneers, Gary Goodridge, Spencer Fisher, Mark Kerr, have come out with similar stories. Memory loss, slurred speech. One of them even forgot how to spell his own last name. It's brutal, it's horrifying, and it's real. These men built the UFC. They birthed the sport, but now they're the cautionary tales, the ones who paid the price so others could fight smarter, safer. Chuck became the face of that. Not the warrior in the cage, but the ghost after it. And you want to know what stung the most? When fans turned their attention back to Dana White. Because remember, Dana was the guy who promised Chuck a job for life, who called him family, who said he'd protect him. But when Chuck needed that promise the most, when he said yes to that Tito fight, Dana didn't stop it. He just walked away. And after the loss, no support, no check-in, nothing. Later, when someone asked Dana how Chuck was doing, he just shrugged. Chuck's a grown man. He made his choice. Ouch. Fans were furious. The man who built your empire, who bled for your brand, you just cut him off. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe we all did. Fans, promoters, the media. We all fed the legend. We cheered every time Chuck took a shot and kept going. We posted knockout clips. We bought pay-per-views. We begged for comebacks. And now, we're watching the consequences of our cheers. On Reddit, one thread exploded. I feel like we failed Chuck. Comment after comment, people saying the same thing. I watched every fight and never thought about what it was doing to him. One person even started a GoFundMe to raise money for brain research in Chuck's name. That's how heavy the guilt runs. Because Chuck didn't just give us fights, he gave us memories. He was the UFC in the early days. He fought like a savage when no one was watching. He made the sport matter. But now he's the warning sign taped to the octagon. No one knows what the future holds for Chuck Liddell. Maybe he fights this silently for years. Maybe one day there's an announcement no one wants to hear. But what we do know is this: Chuck gave everything, and we clapped for it until there was nothing left. He was the Iceman, unshakable, untouchable. Now he's a symbol of pain, of consequence, of the brutal truth behind the glory. And the question that hangs in the air now, the one no one dares say out loud: was it worth it?